So, Mr. Gary Neville has just spoken on Phil Foden's England career. Obviously, there's clips going around at the moment. Before I get into that, welcome along, guys. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for coming to join me on my drive home from work this time. Yeah, I hope you're all doing well. Hopefully I've got some new listeners coming along today. If you are new, I hope you enjoy it. If not, it is. Yeah, we'll get into it. I'm not going to waste too much time on this intro. So there's some clips going around now of Gary Neville speaking about Phil Foden in the England team at the moment. If you haven't already listened to the podcast, you know, the 6 podcast with Neville and Carragher, Keane, Jill Scott and Ian Wright, then to us, you know what you're doing listening to me, because that podcast is literally like one of the top football podcasts there is in the world. It's one of the ones I enjoy the most as well. So yeah, if you haven't, go listen to it. Like I can only recommend so much. But what I wanted to say on this was that, yeah, so he's talked about Phil Foden and the situation he finds himself in now, out of form, still playing for England, and he's basically gone and said no matter what form Phil Foden is in, he should be playing for England. And they kind of, the other members on the panel basically went, nah, I'm not having it. He's not done well enough for England and he shouldn't play for England at the moment. So I kind of wanted to just buzz in and give my own little comments on it. Everyone's going to have an opinion on this topic, and basically mine, oh sorry guys, this happens most of the time, as you guys will know, whoever watch my channel. I will try to sort out as much as I can, you know, it bothers me as well, this sound, I can't lie. But essentially, one second, let me join the motorway. There we go. Yeah. Yeah. Essentially, I side with Roy Keane and Ian Wright, like, and Carragher. I go along with them, saying that if he's out of form, he should not be playing in the side. I just think he's been a completely different player this season. The fall off from last season is, it reminds me of like Eden Hazard at Chelsea. It's that level. Like, I think he's gone from being the best player in the Premier League to doing nothing. I like the point that I think Carragher was making it about the fact that he should be the one stepping up now for his club, and I completely agree. I think he's come through the ranks now. He's learned from the best players in the Premier League. He's had De Bruyne hold his hand. He's had Bernardo hold his hand. He's had David Silva coach it, integrate him into the team. He's had all these great players alongside of him. This season he needed to go, right, I've done it now. Like, he's been the PFA Player of the Year, but he needs to be City's guy now. Like, last season, I could still argue that De Bruyne was better than him when he was playing, but De Bruyne missed half the season. But as an Arsenal fan who was competing in the league title with Man City, I was more scared of Kevin De Bruyne against us than Phil Foden. So, and the reason that De Bruyne didn't win the PFA Player of the Year was most likely because he was injured until whenever it was December. You know, he literally missed half the season, so he couldn't win it straight away. And obviously Phil Foden has moments last season, you know, the world at the Bernabeu, scored some great goals, hat-tricks here and there, but I don't know, it just didn't feel like he was City's main guy still. Maybe it was just me, but I still, you know, it was still Haaland in there, still De Bruyne in there, and this season felt like, well, it feels like he should have taken that team by the scruff of the neck. You know, they're down with Rodri. I haven't even mentioned Rodri as being their main guy. Like, you've had Rodri out the team, you've had De Bruyne out the team for most of the season, and you've had Haaland struggling for form a little bit at times, even though he's still got like 20 goals in the league. And you just wanted to see Foden go, look, he's brushed the Euros off of him and puffs his chest out, drags the team through. It might not get them to win the league, that's fine. But he should still be a standout player almost week in, week out for them. It's like what Bukayo Saka does for Arsenal. You know I bang on about Bukayo Saka, but at the end of the day, the comparison with Phil Foden was with Bukayo Saka. Like, it was Cole Palmer, Bukayo Saka, James Maddison, and Foden right now is comparing more to James Maddison than he is to Bukayo Saka, which that would definitely get clipped up if enough people watch this, me saying it, because that would get taken out of context. My context is in a similar way to what Roy Keane said about Maddison, in terms of he needs to be the guy for Spurs. He's good enough to be that guy for Spurs, but he hasn't stepped up enough times. And it's what I'm throwing at Phil Foden now with this Man City side. You know, they've been struggling and he's struggled with them. And I think the top players and the top teams a lot of the time drag their teams up. Like they just do. I look at Alexis Sanchez for Arsenal. He almost dragged us to a league title, for God's sake. Like, some players just do it. Cole Palmer for Chelsea when they were 6th. You know, they still finished 6th in the league, but I could tell you who their best player was that season by a mile. Put a hat on it, he's going to score assists that game. I can't do that for Foden this season. When I watch them play, he doesn't really do anything. Like, I think Boovy was saying at one point in the season that the ball isn't getting quick enough to him. Like, the ball from the road we normally get from Rodri is not there quick enough. Okay, if that's the point, it's fair enough. But you've had 9 months now, or whatever. Like, there's got to be something more to it than just that. And good players, the great players adapt to these situations. But anyway, when it comes to England, you can judge your Man City all you like. And players can be out of form for their club but still play for their country. Like, you look at Harry Maguire or Jordan Pickford, when they've been out of form, they still played really well for England. Phil Foden has yet to play good for England. Like, I keep banging on about this. I think I did it in my England video when I was doing the who would start my World Cup final. Phil Foden was not in my starting 11, and I don't think it should be an outlandish statement. He has not performed in the England shirt. The best game we've seen him play was against Netherlands in the semi-finals of the Euros, where he was decent. He was alright. He was probably like a 7 out of 10, but he's never been above that for England. He's never got above a 7 out of 10 for England. And if he's taken a spot off of Cole Palmer, for example, it just doesn't sit right with me right now. Like, Gary Neville has just basically gone, yeah, Foden has to start, no matter what, he has to start over Cole Palmer, no matter what. So then you're looking at going, so what's Cole Palmer doing then? What's the point in him playing, like, trying to get to the England side if he's never going to play? I think it's so old school and just an awful way to look at it. It kind of annoys me, because Neville's made the point before of we should be picking players in form, and that was one of the things that was wrong back in the day, was that we were picking players who were out of form and they were just the best players typically. And it's a problem we've had in the past. So now the fact that we have more options, we should be able to rotate it around more and be less reliant on the best players. So when they're out of form, they don't have to play. Don't get me wrong, Foden would still be in my England squad. He would still be in the squad for me, because I don't think he's been awful where he should be in the squad. And he's still a very gifted player. Like, this is not a slight on his ability. Ability-wise, he's probably the highest ability player in the team. Maybe you could put Harry Kane above him, or maybe Bellingham, but I still think Foden technically is better than Bellingham. So yeah, I think ability-wise, he's arguably one of the top players, which is what I get Gary Neville trying to say. Like, you have to get him into the side, but you don't. Like, Roy Keane's the one who's been the most successful manager out of that group of people on that show, and even he was saying it's not always about getting the best players in, it's about the makeup of the team. I look at I'm going to go back to Arsenal because it's the most I think I can relate to the most. Aubameyang was arguably our best player, if not top 3 players in the team at that one point. Yeah, Ozil was the most technically best player we've had at the club since Thierry when we were up Dennis Bergkamp, and we had to remove them from our squad completely because of the form they were in. First of all, attitude's a different problem, but the form they were in was not good. They were not the same player that they were capable of being, so they had to be removed from the squad. People forget with Aubameyang that when we did let him go in that January window, he had not been playing well for us. You know, his goals had dried up after that long-term contract he got. But obviously, we always remember the good times with players, so that gets forgotten about a lot that last 6 months. And Ozil had very similar issues with us, where I love Mesut Ozil, but that last 6 months, 18 months, he was not the same player. So I think with Phil Foden, it's a very similar situation where he might be the most gifted player in the squad. It doesn't mean he's going to be a guaranteed starter for us. And I think Neville was right off the boil in that situation. Could Phil Foden start for us? Definitely. I think, you know what? I think the formation he was saying, 4-3-3 with the 2 like 8-10s, whatever, 8/10s, was what I picked as well before the Euros. That's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see Foden and Bellingham in the 2 10/8s with Rice in the 6. That's exactly what I said. That was my starting midfield with Gordon on the left, Saka on the right, Kane up front. That was my 3 up top. Like that, I think, to be honest, I think it would have worked if Southgate had put it in there. But that was when Phil Foden was coming off the back of being PFA Player of the Year. He then stunk it up at the Euros, and you can say, oh, he played left wing, he played this, he played... The best players can play where you put them. You know, I understand that he's not a left winger, but he's played the position before, and it's not like Southgate was saying to him, oh yeah, you're going to stay on that left wing, you're not allowed to move, and you can't move from that position, basically. Southgate gave him freedom on that left wing, you know, and that's why we had such big issues on the left wing, because he kept drifting inside, and then we'd have Trippier cutting inside as well. So that was why we had such big issues on that left wing. And then I don't know why it's completely forgotten. It's like Neville's just forgotten about what happened in the Euros. And then I think it was the round of 16 when we played against Switzerland, and everyone was like, oh, Saka's going to play left wing back, Saka's going to play left wing back. And he played like a back 5 almost with Saka, but he did it so he could have Foden and Bellingham in the 2 10s in behind Kane. So Foden was a lot more narrow in that system. And that's probably why we saw better Phil Foden in the Netherlands game in the semi-final. We played the same system. But that being said, he still was not good. He played in the 10 and was not good. So you've played him in his favourite position now, and he's still not good. Part of it, I look at it and I go, maybe this is something to do with Harry Kane being in the side as well, which I give Phil Foden the benefit of the doubt here, where I say we have too many players who come to feet for the ball. So let's say in the Euros we had Foden on the left, Bellingham, Kane. Mainly wanted to operate in that space, and he had Rice going into that space as well. And then he started putting Trent into, like, you know, he had Trent in there as well at times. So you had about 4 or 5 players that wanted the ball to feet, with Saka being the only one going long. Trippier was tucking inside as well. So it was very much claustrophobic almost in that edge of the 18 final third space. So that's one benefit that I'll give to Foden, is that he had less space to operate in for England, and it was not catered to him. But as I said before, the best players figure out where to operate in, and they can identify these spaces. There's no reason that Bellingham could do the things he was doing in the 10 position that Foden wasn't doing. Yeah, like, I think he's such a good player, Foden, but he just needs to find that spark again. And like I said, he needs to step up for his club now. His club needed to step up. if he drags them to an FA Cup and he's the main guy, like he scores in the final, he has a man of the match performance, doesn't need to score, does a man of the match performance, drags them through, then I'll be like, oh yeah, fair enough, like you've actually done it at a time your club needs you to do it. But it's felt like he's kind of just shrunk this season when he should have grown as a player, especially coming back last season. Maybe his confidence got a hit with the Euros, but yeah, it just feels like he needs to kick up the art. He needs to stick a dynamite up him, basically. Someone needs to put a bit of urgency back into his game. Maybe I'm being harsh, but that it just feels like you have such a good player there, and he's just wasting away a little bit. He's 24, 25 now. Like, he's been around for 7-8 years. I know Guardiola like phased him into it, but we've waited 7 or 8 years, and it felt like last season was going to be his coming of age, and it hasn't happened this season. So I think he's in danger. If he has another season like this next season, he's in danger of losing his spot for Man City. I think it took a long time for Guardiola to trust Phil Foden. He didn't start him in the Champions League final. He lost to Chelsea. He then was very crucial in the treble winning side, and he was pivotal last season. But he's had 2 seasons of being a very crucial, like guaranteed starter on the team sheet. Before that, he was rotated a bit with like Jack Grealish, Mahrez, him, and who else was their winger they had? They slipped my mind, but there were 4 of them basically. Bernardo Silva as well. We used to play on the wing quite a bit on that right hand side, and he was, or Sane as well. You had nah, that's too early. Sterling, that's the one. Not Sane, Sterling. So there was quite a bit of rotation at first, and Pep still, I feel like he still doesn't like playing him in the. Maybe he does. Maybe I'm being harsh now. I was about to say Pep doesn't like playing him in the 8, but he does play him in the 8 now. But if anything, he should have more of an effect on the game in that position than he was. But yeah, I just think if Tuchel wants to get the best out of Phil Foden, he can do what Gary said, but there's no guarantee he's ever going to do it in an England shirt. I think he's had 2 tournaments now where he's been very, very lackluster, and I'd be very wary of starting him now. I also think you shouldn't be starting him when he's out of form and lacking confidence, because you're just going to make it worse. If you're persisting with him and the crowd are going to get even more on his back, it's going to make it even harder for him to get out of form. Whether if you bring him off the bench, it's like a free hit for him. Let's say we're playing again. Let's say we have, I don't know, a group stage game or whatever, a qualifier, a friendly, something like that. And Phil Foden comes on in the 70th minute, and he goes and scores a goal. All of a sudden, everyone's like, "Oh, there he is." Like, all of a sudden there's less of a call. If he does nothing, he does nothing. Like, it doesn't impact Phil Foden's England career if he comes to the bench and does nothing. It impacts it a lot more if he's starting games instead of Cole Palmer or Morgan Rogers or someone like that, and they're not, or Cobmain or someone like that, you know what I mean, if he's playing in the 8 role. So yeah, I think it was very old school from Gary Neville to give that opinion after everything that's been said about those teams. What I did actually agree with was what he said about the 04 team. I think we said they should have played a 3-back. I actually agree with that. It sounded like a very good system to me to be able to play. It was either that or 4-3-3 you'd probably go with back in the day. But and if you play the 4-3-3, you probably get Joe Cole on the left hand side with like you could still get Owen and Rooney in that front 3 if you had to, you know, or you could have put Joe Cole on the right, Rooney on the left, and Owen through the middle. But it is what it is, you know. He was right with that point, but he was wrong with the Phil Foden assessment. Let me know what you guys think. It's a big topic for discussion, but it's so competitive to play for England now. It's more competitive now than it ever has been to play for England, I think. The amount of quality we have, or the amount of potential quality we have, is very impressive. Like, I think when you do get from the midfield forwards, there are so many good options. The issue is, they're all very good options. We have maybe 2 or 3 world-class players. Foden last season was world-class, not this season. But then you have Bellingham, you have Saka, you have Kane, who you build it on. And then you have Rice, who's one of the top midfielders in the world. He's not quite world-class, Declan Rice. I think he's a level below that, if I'm being completely honest. I love Declan Rice, but he's gonna need, I don't know what it is with Rice. I don't know what it is that doesn't make him world class. There's just something there. Maybe he'll get it with the more trophies he wins. I think that could be to do with it. And I think it's also with Rice. He hasn't pinned down a out and out position that he is. So let's say for England he's a 6, for Arsenal he's an 8. If you look at other players who are world-class central midfielders or have been world-class central midfielders, talking like Thiago Alcantara in recent years, or Toni Kroos or Luka Modric, you know what they are. No matter who they're playing for, they're playing in that position. Yeah? So that's how I look at Rice, and I think he just needs, if he's going to be an 8, he needs to add more to his game. If he's going to be a 6, he has to play the 6. That's what I actually think. I think when Gary was talking about players, if we are going with players who are undroppable, I guess Kane's in there. Again, he wasn't in my starting side actually for the World Cup final, but if I'm being honest right now, yes, the thing is with Kane, he's always bloody injured for the international tournaments, it feels like. Or he's always rushed himself back to fitness. Like, he didn't look right last time out. And I think if Kane's not 100%, he should not be starting. That's how I look at Harry Kane. I look at Bellingham and I say, yeah, pretty much Bellingham has to play. I think Saka has to play no matter what form he's in. I think he's earned that now. I'll probably get called biased being an Arsenal fan saying that, but I do think with the form he's shown for England, he justifies starting no matter what. Jordan Pickford, same again. I think with his form for England, he justifies starting no matter what. John Stones, I think he's by far and away England's best centre half. Then it's kind of everyone else is almost form based. Rice, I think Rice, because of there is no alternative to Declan Rice. The reason why Rice might not actually have started for England would be if there was someone playing the 6 out and out every single week of a similar talent. So let's say, I don't know, if Calvin Phillips had worked out of Man City and he was playing in the 6 for City, he'd probably put in an argument to start ahead of Rice in that 6. But at the moment, you say Pickford, Rice, Stones, and undroppable back there, Bellingham, Saka, Kane. So that's all these 6 players who are undroppable for me at the moment for England. So then you look at the other 5 positions, you go, it's probably down to form, which realistically, if you're picking a back 5 and 4 of them are down to form, it's not a great look, is it? So what we need to see is maybe a Mark Gahey move into a top side this summer, getting that Champions League experience and making himself that other centre half who's undroppable. That's my prediction of what would happen anyway. Or maybe a Jared Branthwaite as well. That's definitely possible. I think Mark Gahey's more likely to get that position, and he should be getting a move in the summer to a top side. Yeah, I think right backs, you can't really pin down one player that has to start. I think you might be saying Trent Alexander-Arnold for playing for Real Madrid, but as I've said with Kane, just because this player is potentially a world class player, and they are one of the best players doesn't necessarily mean they have to start or they are the right player for this team. That's my point with Harry Kane. He might not be the right fit for the team, despite being a world-class player. I think with Trent, depends on how the manager wants to play. Would I start him? Probably would. Maybe it depends on the opposition you play against. I think, but again, that therefore means that he is not undroppable. Same goes for Reece James, same goes for the left backs, and same goes for whoever's partners Declan Rice in that midfield. And same goes for like a Cole Palmer, Anthony Gordon. Like I said, I think if I'm picking a realistic team now, it's, so this is like a revision of my World Cup final one, but we're saying currently, who would I currently start for England as of April the 2nd, 2025? I think you go Pickford in goal, you go Lewis Skelly at left back because Lewis Hall's injured and Skelly has been outstanding, so he might start anyway. I then go, because of this one, I mean, John Stones is out injured now, so you're looking at it going, I'd probably start Mark Gahey. It's close actually. I liked Konsa whenever he's played for England. I'd probably go Konsa and Gahey, but I would want Branthwaite to play, but he's not played for England before. But yeah, no, screw it. We're gonna go Gahey and Branthwaite for the balance of the team. Right foot and left foot. Right back, I would go. I don't think I'm putting Trent in the right back. I'm not gonna lie, because the reason I wouldn't put Trent in the right back in this team is because I haven't got John Stones behind him to back him up. I would go with Reece James at right back. Yeah, I'd go Reece James at right back. Or if Ben White's fit, maybe go Ben White at right back, just for a bit more solidity. Actually, screw it. If Ben White is fit like he is now, he's been playing, I'm picking Ben White at right back, so I can almost go to a 3 back and put Lewis Skelly into like an inverted position. I'm going Rice in the 6, Bellingham in the 8/10. I'm going with Cole Palmer in the 8/10. We're next to him. People are probably going to say, oh, but Foden's out of form, so why are you picking Cole Palmer? Cole Palmer's form is very different to Phil Foden's form. That's my opinion. I think Palmer's form is not necessarily just down to him. I think if we look at how many, I hate going on just stats, but like if you go on like expected assists or whatever, Palmer ranks as one of the most creative players since December still, without registering an assist, because of his teammates. So it's not all down to him, and he still does a lot in the actual game. Like he's still influencing matches, whether Foden's not really doing that for City. And also he's playing in this 8 role already on the right hand side, and he's doing it very well. You know, I still think he might have more to his game than Phil Foden in that 8 position in terms of his passing range, his long range ability, his dead balls, like, yeah. And then I'm going Saka on the right, I'm going Harry Kane up top, and on that left hand side, am I assuming Gordon's fit? I don't know. If Gordon's, either way, I'm going Morgan Rogers. He was in my World Cup one, I'm going for him again. I just really like Morgan Rogers. You could put an argument in for Marcus Rashford. You could definitely put an argument in for Anthony Gordon if he's counted as fit. But yeah, that's my England side. And my first 3 subs, if I'm picking there, would be... Oh, who would my first 3 subs to bench be? Probably be like Rashford. Mainu's injured, so not Mainu. Rashford, Foden, and probably Watkins, if I'm being honest. But yeah, that's my video for today, guys. Thank you guys for joining me. If you haven't already, check out my other video. I've basically predicted every single result for the Premier League season, who's going to finish where. It's obviously going to be 100% accurate. But yeah, please check it out. I actually spent quite a bit of time thinking about that one and put quite a bit of effort into it. So I would really appreciate if you guys could go along. But if you don't have the time, I understand. Thank you. But like I said, thanks for coming along, and I will catch you all in the next one. Peace. That is from football, by the way, just so you know.